I'm still getting used to this process. Yo, what's up, everyone?
Is that how you start every podcast?
I'm trying to figure out like the introduction.
Okay.
Right? So I'm like, yo, what's up, everyone? I am Antonio Knox, and this is the Gradient Radio, an open space for creative conversations for creatives by creatives. And our guest today is one of the dopest.
Ooh.
By day, she is a UI designer, and at night, she is a French wine enthusiast with a flair for interior design. Today, our guest is Crystal Douglas.
Oh, I loved that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
You missed something. So at night, I also, I used to. Now I'm a recovering cake addict. That was a big part of my identity.
Yes. I saw you used to go to shindigs.
Every day.
Every single day.
Honestly, I like cake, so I was eating cake, but then I also secretly hoped that they would sponsor me. So then I wouldn't have to like keep paying for this cake that I'm eating every day. And then I realized that I can't eat cake and drink wine every day. Like that's not healthy, and also it's like making my face fuller. So I no longer eat cake every day.
So you eat cake every other day?
No. Maybe bi-monthly.
Okay, bi-monthly.
It's gotten very, I'm doing well in this recovery process compared to.
I saw at one point you were also making the cakes.
Yes. Okay, so now that's my new hobby. My new hobby is to now make the cakes to myself, because then I feel like it's healthier because I know what's in them and I'm baking them from scratch.
Yeah.
Everything's organic. It is still dessert. I understand that. But at least I know what's in it and I made it. And then it's also like, it's fun. Like it's super fun. I get to pretend like I know how to decorate. When this is over, I'll show you the cake that I decorated recently. It's very sad. So we'll get better.
Yeah, you definitely got me hooked to I think it's like the strawberry lemonade from Shindigs.
Yes, the strawberry lemon cake.
Yes. I saw you post that one time and I was like, oh my gosh.
That is my favorite cake. That's the cake that I've been making because I'm trying to perfect that recipe.
Yeah. How is that going?
It's so interesting because I'm not writing anything down. So
everything by hand.
Yes, and that's where I'm messing up because I should really write the recipes down, because I think I got it around like 3 lemons, more lemon juice, less lemon zest.
Okay.
But I don't know because I didn't write anything down. So now I have to continue to think or go back and be like, all right, I think this is where I got it. And then maybe I'll write that part down.
So are you going to put that name in your description or bio now? Like Kate Connors?
Yeah. Susie Homemaker. Housewife. No, I probably won't. Only if I become really good at it, then maybe.
Yeah.
Because then because I want to post some stuff that I bake, but like most of the stuff isn't good enough to post. And then I feel super subconscious about it because then I'm just like, I don't want anybody to see this. I don't even want to see this.
Do you have pictures?
Yes.
You got to show me some pictures afterwards.
I will. There's one thing that I really wish I would have recorded, or like I did not capture. I made a heart-shaped lemon cake. Or no, it was just a strawberry cake, and I didn't have, my heart-shaped pans are not, they're ceramic, so they take a lot longer to bake, and it just fell apart, and it made me so sad, and I thought they were going to be cute because it's heart-shaped, but I didn't record that. I really should have like taken a picture so I can really use that as like, this is where you started from, and then this is where you are now.
You should.
But I was too embarrassed.
People got to be able to see the process.
I know. You should not be scared of the process.
You shouldn't. That's why I'm doing this. And, with the intro, I don't really have it nailed down yet. So it's like, it's a process. It's a process. So you are so many things.
Yes.
Yes. Could you tell the people who you are and where you started from?
Absolutely. So in terms of my career,
yes,
I am a designer. I don't like to label what type of design I do because I do so many types of designs. So my focus is primarily on user experience, user interface design, visual design, and brand identity. that is my job. I've been focused on separating my identity from my work, which is very important. And I highly recommend that you do that. So that is what I do in terms of work. I also have my own freelance business where I primarily focus on brand identity design, a little bit of graphic design as well. And I like to do a little bit of interior design for the funsies.
Yeah. So you spoke about separating your identity from the work.
Mm-hmm.
How were you merging both worlds together?
For sure. Well, it's so interesting because there's another part of that question that I did not answer. I'm so sorry. But how did I get where I got? So, it's so interesting and crazy and special to have people in your life. And I think that's how the world works now, connections and reputation. So I met an incredible human being when I was in school, and at my college we did portfolio reviews. And so at the portfolio review I met him, and I was talking through my work, and it was designed like terribly. Like, it wasn't good design. I think it had legs in terms of aesthetic, but in terms of UX, there wasn't much grounds, and solely because I went to VCU. So at VCU, there is not really like any UX decorum, like no curriculum for that. At least at the time. I think they're trying to do some of that now, but the program was super outdated, and I did not want to do any of the things that they were kind of like leading us to do. So I was trying to teach myself UX, but YouTube University can only get you somewhere.
Facts.
Like, it's not like I needed, actual work experience.
Needed more, yeah.
I needed more. I needed,
Yep.
a course. So, he kind of like was like, there's like, you have bones, like you have really good ideas, like you concept really strongly. So I want to kind of like offer you an internship. And so I got an internship at this digital consultancy, and I got to learn a little bit more about UX and design systems. And from that, I was really trying to get a job at that company because I'd already made connections there. I was learning so much, and they couldn't hire me because they weren't hiring at that time. And so my creative director at the time, her husband was, he used to work at a digital, like a web design agency here in Richmond, and he was looking for a designer. It was a blessing because this design job wasn't listed anywhere. He just was like looking for it. And I find that happens a lot. Sometimes it's not, available to the public. Like, it's not on their site. It's not on LinkedIn. People just like want something, and they're talking to the people that they know, which is why connections are so important. So I literally went to their house for dinner, and he and I like had a conversation. He's like, yeah, I like you. I'm gonna hire you. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And he's like, well, I can't like hire you right now, but I'll have you come in, talk to like HR or whatever. So I interviewed, she liked me. I did a series of interviews. My God.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was never ending. And it was like every time I went into interview, they were like, all right, so like, we'll keep up in touch for next steps. I would get next steps, and they're like, we're going to have you come talk to the team. I was like, who else am I going to talk to? Because I don't talk to everybody here. And I just want to know, do you like me or not? Like, because at this point, it's like, I can show you potential. I know I don't have the skill set yet because I'm really fresh, but I can show you what I can do. And if you believe in me, please give me this job and pay me because I got rent.
Facts.
So I ended up getting the job, and when I got the job, I had always had this idea for my life that I would like live, eat, and breathe like work. And because I did design and I loved design, and it wasn't something like I'm choosing to do for work, I was just like, yeah, it's like a part of me. It's a part of my identity. And I slowly started to disintegrate and desiccate and not enjoy my life because work can be the one thing that you focus on. Like, you need a break, especially as a creative.
Yeah, facts.
As a creative, you're working, you are a vessel. and you're just producing things, and you need to have that clarity, and you need to have imagination. And a lot of times you can't do that if you're solely focused on work, if your mind is on work 24/7, if you're every time you pick up your phone there's an email or there's a text message or there's a Slack message. Like, you need time and space to let your mind breathe, to let your creation or your creativity and your imagination kind of like wander off and kind of like clear the slate. And you can't do that if you're solely working and your identity is wrapped into what you do. So you have to have some sort of separation, and that's what I've truly been working on the past year. I think like the pandemic and working from home didn't make that any better, because you live in the place that you work. So especially if you live in an apartment and you don't have an office, like there is no clear separation between what work and home is. Like, it sort of submerges, and then that sort of like swallows your identity, and you're just like, what? All I do is think about web design and design systems, and like, that's cool, but I also want to frolic because it's spring and I haven't been outside in 3 weeks,
So how did you step away? How did you start to like pull that? How did you start to pull that apart?
Well, kicking and screaming first. So I have a really hard time stepping away. Like, it sounds great in theory, but I care so much about what I do that when it's not there, I just I get really go down a rabbit hole in tunnel vision, and I just kind of like get very deep into it, and I continue to work on it. There are times where I have to like do check-ins with myself and be like, all right, where are you getting? Like, if you're not getting anywhere, you're wasting time. You're just burning yourself out. So you really have to step away and go do something else. So what I've been trying to do as of recently is I have a little sketch pad or a little notebook, and that's where I keep checklists for the day. And I've learned that I actually like to check things off. Like, there's some sort of like satisfaction when I like check things off a list. So I will write down my plan for the day, like every morning, and in my plan I'll write down times where I want to do nothing, like literally do nothing. I want to sit on the floor, not listening to music, not do anything, just like sit there and think and let my mind wander. There are there's this saying in meditation that sometimes, you kind of like think that you're supposed to be thinking of a certain thing. Like, maybe your mind is supposed to be like at a beach and you're like all serene and things like that. But also, like, the mind just doesn't work like that. If you have thoughts about, what you're going to make for dinner, like, give yourself that space to think about that. Like, literally let your mind wander naturally instead of trying to control your thoughts. And I think that's something that really does help spark some sort of like idea or creativity or imagination, is when you let your mind organically kind of get to that space. So I'll write down time, maybe like 15 to 30 minutes to do nothing. Like, just sit on the floor, lay on the floor, sit in the chair, just let my mind be and think. And that's a really great way for me to kind of just like recharge myself and kind of re-up. I also like to do walks in my neighborhood. I live in a super cool neighborhood and it's so beautiful. And I just kind of walk and get lost and like actually stepping away and moving to a different place that's not on a computer, that's not inside like an air conditioned space. Getting fresh air also is a really good benefit to sort of like physically stepping out and separating yourself.
Just like you, I had to do the same thing. For me, because I'm a full-time entrepreneur, so like you can definitely blur the lines and trying to figure out what your identity is when you're like working with clients and like your personal life, because it's something that you just do 24/7. You have to be on 24/7. And I realized in order for me to like really create some structure, I had to like create some structure. And so like I use the reminder apps. Like I tried to do like the paper to the pen, but it didn't work for me. So I had to use something that was like more like, because my phone is like always in my hands. And so like I started to put things into my calendar, and I started to use the reminder apps. And I got on this like this role of like constantly reading books. And what I started to take from the books is kind of like what you said, right? I write my intentions weekly. I write my intentions monthly. I write my intentions weekly, and I write my intentions daily. So I read my book. I read 100 pages in a day. in the morning, and then like after I write my intentions on like what I'm going to do for that particular day. And some of my biggest work is like during like 10:30 to like 1:30, and then from like
PM or AM?
AM.
Okay.
Well, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from that point on, I either work out or I go somewhere, do something. But from like 3:30 until like 4:30 is the time I don't do anything. That's my time to just like relax.
Yeah.
Don't get away from like social media, get away from like the music. I lie in my bed and I just kind of like allow my mind to like just like wander.
That's awesome.
And also like within that time I kind of like allow myself to like manifest the things I want to do next.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand like the process of like just, you kind of like created some structure for yourself, and then to not be able to like blur the lines of like what's your personal life, what's your work life, and also giving yourself some time just to do nothing. Because like when we're constantly doing something, when we're constantly like looking at something, we're not necessarily thinking for ourselves.
Yeah.
So like that was like the perfect thing that you had to do for yourself. And do you feel like you're kind of like heading in the right direction or a better direction after you kind of like created these boundaries for yourself?
I do. It's so tricky because I'm learning that I also don't like routine. So it's like I'm trying to make myself, how can I please myself when I feel like I'm so hard to please? Like I need structure, but I also don't want routine. Like I don't want to be a designer full time. Well, I don't want design to define me, but I also end up just doing design full time because I'm like, if I'm not, designing something for a client, I'm like designing my apartment, like I'm always like doing something. And so I forgot what you said. This has been happening all week. I've been losing my train of thought.
No, it's all good. I spoke about like do you feel as if like you are
making progress?
Yes, making progress.
Yes. I do slowly but surely. What I've come to realize, and I do not remember the YouTuber who did this or who said this, but last year, and I watch this video all the time because I need a re-up, she talked about, and once I find it, I'll send it to you so you might be able to like kind of plug it, but she talks about creating systems instead of hard goals, or not necessarily hard goals, because you can still set a goal.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard for us to achieve that goal. And if you think about it like a New Year's resolution, sometimes people don't make it that far into the year, like actually doing it. It's just because you say like, oh, I aspire to do X, Y, and Z, and you don't actually do it because you didn't set the systems in order to do that, or you didn't set a pathway or a plan.
Yeah.
But the system idea is a little bit more relaxed because you can set several different systems in place to help you achieve that goal. And if you are a person who is tired or you don't really like routine, you can set up several systems and kind of interchange those to help you make the goal or reach the goal. So say your goal is, I want to have a clean house, right? There are ways that you could do that can be very time consuming, and then there are ways that you can do that can actually be beneficial to you in your time. So say you spend 8 hours on Saturdays cleaning your house, and it's just like you wasted your whole Saturday. Like you didn't get to go outside. Or you can set up a system where every day you put things away, like just to help you overall have a cleaner space. And so if you do decide to clean on Saturday, you aren't spending that much time. So you're always making sure my shoes need to be put away. Dishes are clean at the end of every day. Like my bed is always made. Like just creating those systems so you can kind of value or use your time wisely. And then overall it becomes a habit. I think if you do something like at least 30 days, 28 days or something like that, it becomes like habit. And so after that, if you're super accustomed to that, it becomes a habit and it becomes a part of your lifestyle. And so I've been trying to kind of create systems for myself because I hate routine and I don't want to do the same thing all the time. And same thing in my notepad when I'm writing down my day. I'm like, I have like times during the day, sometimes a little bit of time in the morning and a little bit of time in the afternoon, and I will interchange those every day. Like, I'm not doing the same thing every day. I'm not joking about frolicking. I actually frolic. And that's what I do. Then it makes me happy. And, Monday I might frolic at 2:30. Tuesday at 2:30, I might go to the grocery store because I just need to get out of the house. Like, what do I need to do? I'm utilizing those systems to help me kind of create like a better day and life for myself. I've noticed that things start to feel mundane when I'm doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
Or when the day goes by and I haven't been outside because I've been at my computer from 8 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's like 8 p.m. at night.
Yeah.
And I'm just too young for that. Like, my life, I can't, when the days start to blur because I haven't been outside, that's not okay.
Yeah.
And like, my goal is to enjoy my life. So these are my systems to do that. Like slowly starting to take back control of my life where I can,
Yeah. So do you see yourself continuing to working for someone in the future? Because it seems like, in many ways, working from home is kind of like ideal for you because you can like switch up your routine.
Yeah.
Because typically, like when you work for somebody, it's typically the same, like almost every day.
Yeah.
So is that eventually the goal to be able to go down that direction so you can have that freedom?
I don't know. And I also don't know how much freedom you have as an entrepreneur, honestly, in comparison to, for sure, like 9-to-5 jobs where you don't have that much control. But I am blessed to work at a company and companies that I can really schedule out my day. Like, if I don't have meetings during the day, but I have, I work in production, like I do production work, so I have to actually produce something at the end of the day. It's not like I can just like answer emails and like, no, like that's great if you can. I like
just
envy you. Yeah, but I have to actually produce something, so the work has to get done.
Yeah.
But I'm blessed enough to be able to, if I want to take a midday shower, if I want to like actually go somewhere during the day, I can schedule out my day. So, in the evening, maybe I do that work. And depending on, like however benefits work, if you have like open PTO, you can always like take a day and spend it for yourself. And so in comparison, I don't really know how different it is. Like, you do have like, of course you have like the freedom because you are your own boss, but also like having your own business is very you're an entrepreneur, it's very time consuming. A lot of times you're working 24/7.
Yep.
And so I like, in comparison, in the grand scheme of things, if you do have that type of job where you can, have a little bit more freedom, I don't really know, like, and I have to like really set it out and like look. But like, when I think about it, and I know this was like a big conversation about like people have 9-to-5s, they can't really do anything, they can't really control their lives, or they're not the boss, blah blah blah. And I think it is contextual, depending on what you do. But I don't know if I want to be my own boss. That's something that I haven't quite thought about yet. I did have dreams of having my own design firm, but that as a career would not be fun for me. Because I don't want to run a business.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just design. I want to do all of the design work. Unless I'm a president and I have other people running my business and I just like pop in every now and again. I don't mind that. That's actually a goal.
That seems ideal.
I want to wake up and I want to bake my cakes, and I might design something if I feel like it. If I don't, I don't. Like, that's my ideal life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, like it's not, running your own business or being an entrepreneur is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, everybody shouldn't like try to do something like that. And it really seems like you have like some flexibility within like your job or your jobs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know most people who have the ability to be able to schedule out their day. Typically it's like a 9-to-5 or
For
like
sure.
whatever. But like, it seems like you have like super flexibility where you're at right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's like, it's such a blessing, especially working from home, because you do, there are times where I am chained to my desk, but that's because I do it. Like, I have this really like innate nature to like to finish what I start and to not step away, which is hard for me. And I know that contradicts everything I just said, but like I have to really force myself to really step away and kind of like go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm just really thankful and blessed that I do have the flexibility to kind of sort of like walk away when I need to, or schedule out my day to do something else. And I understand that a lot of people aren't able to do that. So
yeah, that's a blessing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So we're kind of going to step away from like you and work and kind of like speak about your interior designing skills and how beautiful that is. Please tell us where you started with that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a digital designer. Everything I design are websites, apps, things that you can't physically touch, and they're not tangible. At least they're not like physically tangible
in the real world.
In the real world, yeah. And I found like some sort of like solace and something very refreshing about interior design, because you can really touch things, and you can feel them and you can experience them. And beforehand, I was calling myself an experience designer because I really truly thought that I designed experiences, and I think I still do it to a certain extent. You experience that in different ways. Maybe it's through the lens of a computer or a screen, but designing physical spaces just felt very like refreshing for me. And it's a little interesting and annoying because you can't like command Z in real life. Like you can't undo, like you literally have to physically undo something if you don't like it, or if it doesn't work. But I ended up just designing I started with my apartment. Actually no, I started with my dorm room. That's when I actually really got crazy, because I was like, oh no, this is like a space that I can decorate, and it's new and it's fresh, and there's like possibilities. And I ended up like kind of collaborating with my roommate when I was a freshman in college, and we got some colors together, like a palette, and the room definitely looked like two different rooms on different sides, but they did not, they coordinated, and there was some harmony there. And then I grew up and got my own apartment, and I started to design from there, and it was really strange. I remember starting, my mom got me a graduation gift, and she got me a couch, and it was a pink couch. And I love pink, but I never thought about having a pink house or like utilizing pink furniture. Like that decor didn't come to mind. And so I just kind of like based everything off of this pink couch, and now my house is just pink, and a whole bunch of like it's so interesting how that came about. But I ended up just kind of doing what felt right. I like when I see something, I'm like, oh, that I want that. And there are pieces in my apartment that I feel like don't make sense. Like if you just kind of like, if you bought everything in one setting, you would be like, that doesn't make sense. I don't see how that works. But after a course of time, or just finding things that you love and like slowly but surely piecing things together, it starts to make sense and it starts to flow. And I think that I have like, I had to really teach myself how to design. But I think I have an inherent gift to know what works well. I have good taste, and I think that that's something that I can sort of like lean on when I'm designing, especially interior spaces, because I don't have the formal training in interior design. I can use the design principles that I know from design in general, what I use at work, but interior design is a little different, and I could take a little masterclass on interior design, and that works as well. But I kind of like to tell stories with rooms. And that's how I do it in UI and UX, There's always a story, whether that is like a brand story, or if you're telling, like, if you're trying to kind of like make the content come alive, and you're trying to visualize that and add a visual aid to that. It's always about storytelling. And so in every room, I like to have a different feel or a different vibe. So my kitchen right now looks like a cottagecore dream. It has all of my baking books in there. I have a little like intimate nook. I'm a very intimate person. I also call myself like a introverted extrovert, like, or maybe I'm an extrovert introvert. I don't know. Either way, I love to be by myself or in smaller groups of people, but I can form and be chameleon-like and excel in spaces where there are a lot of people. That's fine. But my house is sort of set up for, honestly, like, it's so bad. I cannot entertain more than 3 people. And I did that on purpose. So like I have like a little dining nook that's super intimate, 2 chairs, good. and it makes for like a very conversational type of environment. The same with my living room. The story that you kind of see when you walk into my house there, I have two different entrances. I usually use the entrance for the kitchen, so you kind of like walk into the kitchen, and you get like this like really cute frothy cottagecore vibe. There's like pinks going on, there's like some mustard yellows, emerald greens. I love jewel tones. And you go into the living room and it's the same color scheme, and so it kind of continues on that story. It's still intimate. I have like my couch. I think in my like the proximity to the couch there isn't another like little chair. I have like a little reading nook in the center, so it's really set up for vibes, for intimate spaces and conversation, and for myself. And the bedroom and the bathroom kind of like tell a different story. Like I've always thought like that bathrooms could be more like spa-like, more like a little bit more sexy. So ain't no pinks in there. So it's like it's black and there's white. There's hints of gold, some gray tones, and that story is continued on through the bedroom, because the bedroom is obviously like an intimate space.
For sure.
Ain't no pinks in there either. Black, white, like the color scheme, it goes on that as well. So I like to storytell, and I think that like stays true throughout all of the things that I design, no matter what the medium is.
I never thought of a place or spaces to be synonymous with stories.
Yeah, that's experience. Like I love smells too. So like every room smells different. Like the kitchen always smells like some sort of food, and so whether that be like I have like strawberry shortcake, like air fresheners, or like wallflowers, or peaches. Like, yeah, like it always smells like food. The bathroom always smells like either a man or spa. So mahogany teak wood from Bath and Body Works.
Yeah, I have that.
It's so good. It's so yummy. Or like something like eucalyptus, like something spa like. I think that like it's all about the experience, like if you have a well-rounded experience through your senses. That's the great thing about design, especially the tangible design of like interior design. You can feel it, you can touch it, you can smell it, you can see. And so when all of that is combined, you're like really getting a vibe.
Yeah. So is it difficult when people come over your crib? Do they ever want to leave?
Yes. Also, I like, oh, it's like, you got, what are you doing today? I just kind of want to like watch TV. I don't know. No, they do. They always like say, it smells so good in here. It's so nice in here. I think also my new apartment is different. Like my old apartment, I had like people like scared to sit down or.
Why? Because every piece looked like it was
highly curated. Nobody felt comfortable, and I was just like, yo, like, I'm laying on the couch, but like if I'm doing it, you can do it too. Like it's fine. But I think my new apartment has like the vibes are completely different. Like the energy in there is good. It's like it feels nice, and the floors are warmer. Like there's something different about that space, and like people have surely acted different in that space. Like people get very comfortable. I've had guests sleep over, which I don't like. And I know I sound like the most unhospitable person ever, and I feel bad because I'm Southern, but I just like my space. Like, I like to entertain people from, like, a certain amount of hours, and I'm just like, all right, now it's me time.
Yeah, no, everyone definitely loves this. Well, I can't say everyone, but I know I love my space. Yeah. Not too many people have come over my space, so yeah. I completely understand that.
It's sacred.
Yeah, it's super sacred, especially my bedroom.
Yeah.
Especially the bedroom.
Question. Do you have a TV in your bedroom?
I do. Okay. I didn't want one.
Okay.
But it was a gift, and I was like, I don't want this. And it was like, no, you got to keep it. And it was like a 55-inch. So it's like, it could go, I mean, it could go other places, but it's like, no, it was like, I want you to have this.
Yeah.
And so like after a while, I was like, man, let me just take it. And I put it on my wall, and then it's nice. It's nice. But I barely watch TV now. Mm-hmm. Like I'm typically, if I do watch something, it is going to be on YouTube.
Okay.
But like it's there, and I use it for music as well.
That's
so
nice.
Like,
okay, yeah. I can see that. Because I don't believe in TVs in the bedroom.
I don't think I think
the bedroom is for sleeping and other stuff. But like, I don't, not TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like a Western thing.
Yeah. I think so too. Like you also like screens are so, and I know I'm in digital design and I'm in UX, but like screens are crazy.
So do you not take your computers into your room? Like,
well, I have worked in the bed at some point, but I don't try to do it. I really like to like get up and work elsewhere.
Yeah.
And like actually like be in a like in the I you have to separate that out because I'm not as productive if I'm in the bed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I really just want to sleep.
Yeah.
I really just want to sleep.
I mean, that's what it's for, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a thought, but I forgot it. Yeah, no, don't waste your time. It's just my memory.
It's all good. So you spoke about how kind of like how you curated your particular spaces to feel super cozy.
Yeah.
And not that many people. Typically, like when you spoke about like your kind of like your dining area for like two people.
Yeah.
Right. Typically, like dining areas are like these large spaces with like long tables, 8 chairs. I don't think I've ever seen like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like the opposite that was super intentional. Was that intentional?
Yes. So I wanted to create a nook. You also have to think like I'm working with an apartment, so
For sure, yeah.
Space is also limited. But I wanted to kind of create a nook because I knew that I probably wasn't going to eat at the table. But if I do decide to, like, if my mom comes over, for some reason she loves working at my like dining room table, and it's so strange. I'm just like, I have a desk. You want to just like sit there? Like, I don't know. But it's so in the nook, the table's also round, and I've been reading that rounder tables create a more intimate space as well. So even if you're entertaining more than 2 people, and you have a round table, conversation is more natural because you're sitting here instead of sitting like across. Like you can turn to your neighbor and be like, oh, hi, blah, blah, did you meet so and so, and like the conversation can flow a little bit more naturally and a little bit more informal than a standard like square table where you're sitting across from people. And so I wanted to have a circle table. It also made better sense for the space since it is smaller. And then having like the little 2 chairs felt nice because I was like, this is like a proper nook. It's super intimate, like nice little like dinner, breakfast, whatever. Is fine. But then I also have I kind of take that table too, and sort of like my space is super weird, and I don't know if I can explain it, but I have like a good amount of space in my living room. So I kind of transform the apartment, and I'll put the table in there, and I can set up more chairs. So when I do like actually entertain 4 people, oh my god,
that's the maximum.
Yeah, because now we're running out of chairs. I can like actually like accommodate for all 4 people.
Yeah. Are those chairs all the same?
No, and that's the other thing. Like I really got to get some more chairs, man. So I have my 2 dining room chairs, so those match. And then the other chairs, they're both pink. They're different styles of chairs.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to host a tea party at my house, but then I was just like, I can't host a tea party with mismatched chairs.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not done. And if you did it, I'm so sorry. I'm very heavily aesthetic focused, and I need it to be uniform.
Yeah. It seems like design really oozes throughout like your whole life.
Yeah.
Like from obviously from like your not your business or like your professional life, but also like your personal life. You think about it each like from interior design, and I can imagine from like the fashion that you wear as well. You think about that from like a design perspective, like how is this going to look?
Yeah, I am very heavily aesthetic driven and focused. Sometimes unbeknownst to me, but very clear to other people. I don't know. I start to think about, I'm always thinking, like my head is always going, I'm always going. And oftentimes like I'm always like, I feel like it looks so strange, but I'll like close my eyes like this. And it's just because like if I'm doing this, like I'm like thinking about, all right, like I'm putting outfits together in my head and I'm like interchanging things. Or I'm like thinking about my apartment and I'm like, okay, if I move the chair here, like I did that several times before I moved in. And I guarantee you not, it worked. And when I was putting things together, it just it worked. And I did record the space before, so I kind of had that to fall back on. But I was like in my head, just like changing things. Like, all right, so I could do this here, and I could do this here, and I could do this here, and it's just going. I think that's just it's natural and it's inherent. And it makes no sense as to why, like, I always think about this, like, why can't I can't naturally sketch. Like, my brother is really gifted at that. He's a very talented illustrator, but he doesn't want to do design. And I want to do design, and I can't draw to save my life. And it always, like, makes no sense to me. I'm just like, I know, like, the taste and aesthetic is inherent, and I know what works. Why can't I draw? It doesn't make sense. But no, aesthetics are very important to me, and it's kind of like this thing that just happens and flows naturally, which is great.
Yeah. So you spoke about visualization.
Mm-hmm.
You visualize things before you like actually put it into motion.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, if you had like mood boards for these things.
Of course.
Or so you have mood boards.
Of course. Of course. I love mood boards.
Yeah.
And at my current company, it's so interesting because they have transformed the way that I do mood boards, like, completely. And I used to, I don't know if I put much thought into the mood board beforehand. I would put elements that I know I wanted, and it wouldn't convey an overall mood. It would just be like a collage of some sort. And what I've learned is that mood boards, shocker, are supposed to create an overall mood. So it does not have to be super literal. Like, if you're designing, for example, if I'm designing for a law firm website, I don't have to have gavels. I don't have to have bookshelves or typical law firm, like, aesthetic pieces. I could literally have brush paint strokes. I could have cropped buildings. I could have texture. Like, I could zoom in on couches to get like a sort of, like, it's meant to evoke a certain tone, you know? And so the way that I think about mood boards is I really start to think about the story that I'm telling and what I want to evoke. I break things down into keywords and key terms. Like, if I want something to feel personable, or I usually do like 3. I do sets of 3, and they all feel or are supposed to feel like some different things. If something is meant to feel like personable, established, and authentic, I start to piece together a mood board of what may feel like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be things that are super specific. They can also be pieces that sort of feel like that. And so, like, kind of stepping out and thinking, or stepping out of what is supposed to be and just open yourself up to the possibilities is ultimately what helps me get there. And it's like, I was taking a course on creativity, and I was learning about structural fixedness, and which essentially is when you can't think of something outside of the structure that you're used to. So if something sort of like, you know, this glass like functions as something that you drink water from, and there might be a barrier there where you can't think of doing anything else with this glass other than drinking water. Breaking out of that fixedness would allow you to figure out multiple ways to use this glass without just drinking water. And so kind of sort of applying that and allowing your body and your mind to truly be a vessel and break out of that fixedness is what gets you there. And so, like, doing mood boards that are that, you know, is picking up things that really inspire you and that you have a visceral reaction to. That's like the best thing to ever, something just really moves you, just collect it and save it, and then go back to all of the things that you collected and see what you can pick from there. There are concepts within like that mass group of things that don't really make sense. You can sort of like, I don't know what happens, but it's something like something happens with your mind where, especially if you do, like, you spend like an hour looking for content, or you spend an hour looking for resources, and you just sort of like grab whatever you have a visceral reaction to, or whatever you connect to, and then you look at it and you start to piece it apart and group it, and you start to form concepts from that. You start to see, okay, I can see this and this goes together with this. And you start to see some sort of relationship, and I think that really does help you in broaden your scope in your mind to different possibilities.
Yeah. I don't think I've sometimes, like when I'm creating mood boards, it's typically I'm looking for like whole pictures.
Yeah.
I never thought about it from the concept of like if I like this this specific corner of a thing or like this close up of a thing to add it within like the mood board. I just always thought to look for like whole pictures that I loved.
I would strongly suggest that you start cropping things, like really like mess it up, tear it up, like crop it, stretch, like rotate it, because it really does elevate or change the entire board.
Yeah.
I today I was working on mood boards, and I found a photo of a building. The background, I could tell the photo was edited heavily because the background was like yellow or something like that. And the building was like this really nice, like colorful structure, but it had wood textures and tones, and it was angular. So it wasn't like, that right there gives you like so different, a few different vibes. Like you're getting an angular building, so that feels already a little bit more established and structured, but it's wood, so that feels a little bit more warm and charming, and then it's colorful, so that also adds to the charming effect and something that feels a little bit more informal. And so depending on the way that you utilize that photo, you're going to get a few different vibes. So if you crop it somewhere where you can't really see the angles, and you're trying to communicate like a more charming and warm vibe, it works. If you don't, then you're getting these angles and it just doesn't vibe. If you have like circular shapes in the mood board or things that flow in a little bit more organic, it just doesn't work because you got this little angular thing. But that photo, if it really does move you and you feel like it could work, especially aesthetically in terms of like color and things like that, crop it, and then it works. And it really does transform the entire mood board.
Yeah, I mean, from the way that you're kind of explaining it, I'm like, I definitely have to try this.
You do. I strongly suggest.
I don't know why I didn't think of that. How would you define creativity?
Can I describe it as like a feeling?
Yeah.
I'm also gonna say that me asking that question was creative because I didn't define it. I kind of gave it its own like
interpretation.
Little, yeah. I think creativity is like, so when we're younger and when we're children, I think that we have like a really vast imagination, and we don't have sort of that structural fixedness barriers and things like that to hinder us from like really reaching a point and coming up with ideas and being inspired. And as we grow up, you know, that sorts, because of life and because we learn a lot more and our brains start to develop more, and we are obtaining everything that's around us, and other people's like ideologies and things like that, our imagination or our creativity starts to shrink. And I don't really think it shrinks. I just think that we don't pay attention to it as often.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're a child, you don't have those barriers, and you're allowed, your mind is allowed to run free.
Yeah.
I think that true creativity is really having space to allow your mind to wander and to be inspired, and to be without judgment. Because when you're without judgment, you can really allow yourself to be open and to sort of absorb all of the things that the Lord has for you, the world has for you, and all of the things that just come to your mind. You really have to like literally allow yourself to be a vessel. And creativity sort of like feels like, I'm going to see if I can try to describe this. So if you've ever like just been to a place and there's just something about it, and it just feels like, something feels like everything, like there's just something possible, or it just feels like really good. Like you're just like, dang, this just feels right and it just feels good. I think that's what creativity feels like to me. Like it just feels like an open source for possibilities. And you have to really allow yourself to be open to that. Yeah. And so in order to do that, you kind of have to step away. You kind of have to change your structure. You kind of have to change your strategy. You have to just allow yourself, be in places that you aren't normally in. Really allow yourself to be open, to be a vessel, to really absorb and consume what's around you. And then, you know, you get those possibilities.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
I never thought of it. I know, I mean, I'm constantly creating things, and so I never actually sat and thought about like what is creativity to me. But I definitely understand the coming from the standpoint of creativity being a feeling.
Yeah.
Because, you know, typically like when you're like in the process of creating something new, there is like this feeling that happens in the process of like creating something, and like you hope it's right, like you hope it's like the perfect thing that comes like out of you, that's coming from nowhere or just coming from God. But it's definitely like a feeling, and that's what I want like so many people to kind of like feel.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of like the gradient, to be able to help people find their passion find their passion so they can live out their purpose.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's the goal. I want people to feel that, because I know I felt it all my life. You felt it. So many other creators have felt it, and so it's that like pocket that you're kind of like in. Like it's just like you're just like creating, and it's like, yo, it's so different. Like it's hard to really explain, but like I understand like where you're coming from. Would you say that you're kind of like walking in your purpose, like when it comes to the things that you create?
This done turn into therapy. Jesus Christ. I had one moment that I felt like I was walking in my purpose. And this was my first ever interior design sort of gig. I was asked to design a wedding, and I had never done that before. I was scared because I had never done that before. And I was like, I hope you know that I only decorate my apartment and my friends' apartments and like no actual real spaces, but I'll try. And we spoke, and she kind of like, it was a quarantine wedding, so that also helped because the pressure wasn't crazy. It was at the house, and she was just like, yeah, like there's so much going on, but we just really want to be married, and you know our family can't be there, but we want to make the space feel magical. And I like things that feel magical. If you couldn't tell by me frolicking and baking and things like that. So I sort of took, you know, what she wanted and what she said and created a mood board based on those feelings. And we made the space feel very ethereal and like a little oasis, or a little like secret garden. Honestly, it was full of flowers and incense, and kind of like really transformed her living room into like this extraterrestrial like garden that it was insane. But she was so happy. And she didn't really have, you know, like family there. It was just really her husband, her brother, and the pastor. And my role was really to just design, and I came in and I did the design and I helped set up, and I was like planning on leaving, but like I ended up staying and really like seeing it through, helping her. Like I turned into the wedding coordinator. Like the pastor was like, so when are we doing this? And I was like, I guess we do. Let's just do it here. Like, I don't know. Like, let's figure it out. And I really like helped create this space and this experience for her that she wanted and was describing, but she couldn't visualize. And she was like, this is really like, I knew what I wanted, but I did not imagine that. And helping her and like seeing how happy she was, and like really like creating this space and this experience for like a day that it's her wedding day, you know, like that's really special, made me feel so good. And I felt like I was doing something really important. And I don't often feel like that because, you can't really pick what you work on sometimes when you're working at work. And granted, you're making someone's like goals, you achieve their goals, but that's through like a company. When you have like this direct access to a person in their life, that feels beneficial, feels important, and it made me feel like I was like purposeful in that moment. And so I don't really know what my purpose is, like to define it distinctly, but I know it's gonna have to be with helping people. And I think I find that too when I do my freelance work, when I do my freelance like design work, when I'm able to like really do brand identity and walk someone through their brand. Like if you're describing to me what you want your brand to be, and we're creating a brand voice, we're personifying the brand so that you can write for the brand and design for the brand and have someone else design for it. We're putting together those systems, and it works. Like helping you achieve your business goals. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm moving in my purpose. And so whatever I end up doing and wherever the Lord sends me, I think it really is going to be like working directly with people and not necessarily like corporations.
Yeah.
I noticed that people like to run from the word creativity or creative.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, and I think this is also one of the things that happens when you grow up, is that you think that in order to be creative, you need to be like an actual artist. We're all creative. We all have imagination. You once had an imagination before you grew up and became an adult.
Yeah.
And so this app, ladies and gentlemen, is not for just designers or artists. It's for everybody. Anybody who wants to be a creative, anybody who wants... anybody who wants to open themselves up to creativity and imagination. We all are creative. We all have imagination. You just have to really embrace it and really like tap into it. A lot of people are just like, I'm not creative, I can't help. And I'm like, no, you are. Allow yourself to be.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you think people can allow themselves to really dive into that? Do they have to tap into that like those childlike memories, those childlike abilities? Like how do you think those people can unlock that creativity that they have within themselves, but they feel as if like they can't?
Yeah, I think also it doesn't have to be something grand. Like you don't have to be like trying to design something. It could also be like creativity is figuring out like a new way to schedule your night or to do your night. Like it could be something super simple. And I think you have to really allow yourself to do that. And like I was saying before, it's opening yourself up to be a vessel to imagination and to wander to like different perspectives and ideas that could be brought to you. I think resources also helps a lot, like especially when you're like, I'm saying all this stuff like open yourself up to like the ideas and blah 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 blah, and like you're probably like, okay, like how do I do that? But resources also are a really great resource to help you do that too. So if it's like looking at, say you want to create like a fun way to spend your evenings, right? You can look at certain blogs. People have ideas like, let's do campfire nights in the house, like looking at Pinterest, looking at particular influencers on Instagram that you really enjoy, looking through books, or actually like going out and a lot of people are super inspired by records, like going out looking at record designs, like pulling pieces from that. Now I'm starting to get into more like creative stuff, but or more design stuff. But resources are incredibly beneficial because they really can help. If you're really pulling from a source of like, I really can't get anything, finding resources does help. But I urge you to do both. Yeah. Like try to get it naturally first, and if it doesn't work, then start to get resources, but also try it on your own, because sometimes once you like actually start something, then you've gotten your brain started to work, and you can kind of produce from there. You just have to start. It's
just like you said, like sometimes people prevent themselves from like just like even doing, because they see the whole project or like what it takes to be able to create something like that, and they feel as if like I can't do that. You know, I can't start that. And you know, just what you said, like typically sometimes the projects I've done, the projects I've done, and I would see like the big picture, but I wouldn't be like too discouraged about it. And I'm like, if I just like take one step at a time, and you know, just start if I start first, and then I kind of like go down like this process of like just trying to figure it out, then over time I would get to like that end process. But like, you just have to be able to start first. Yeah, you have to be able to do, and like everything else will just kind of like come along the way and with that process. And so like, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
The hardest part is just getting started. Yeah, that's like half the battle.
Yeah,
because we can be in our head a lot. Yes. Like so much, and just sort of block ourselves, or spend too much time on one thing. And then sometimes moving along to a certain or a different thing can kind of help you get to where you need to be. And then just revisit what you were stuck on so long, and once you revisit it and it works, and you're just like, why did I was spending so much time on this.
Yeah, so yeah, just start, people.
Just start.
Just start. Like, one of the person I had before you was kind of like speaking a little bit to that, because they were kind of like a novice, like in it, they called themselves a novice. They called themselves a baby in terms of like being creative or like doing creative things, because their 9-to-5 is so vastly different in comparison to like what they really want to do with their lives, and they felt as if like they were just like a beginner with it, right? And once they started their idea, it kind of like just took off. Like they were thinking about it for like 5 years. They were thinking about it for 5 years. And when they started the process of like just doing it, just taking one step at a time, just starting it, and everything just kind of like fell into place. Yeah. And once things started to fall into place, it created like new opportunities, new doors. They met so many different kinds of people. And had they never started, their life would look vastly different in comparison to like where they are now, because they started like their ideas. And so it's super pivotal, and just going for that idea and not being too afraid for what you want to do, and you know, unlocking that creativity that you have like within you.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I kind of want to speak about this wine. Okay. This French wine a little bit. Yes, please school me on some like French wine. I used to dabble in wine, but it wasn't like too crazy. Like people laugh at me because I don't laugh at me when I'm about to tell you this, but I like to put ice.
Stop it. I knew you were going to say that. And I was really hoping that you would.
My friends told me never to.
And here you are on a podcast, just telling everybody.
Everybody's going to listen to this.
I had hopes. I had hopes that wasn't about to come out of your mouth.
But it's only a particular kind of wine, right? It's not like Spanish wine. It's kind of like candy wine, right? Like it's when I say candy wine, it's like.
Are you putting ice in Moscato? No. Because then that's just terrible. Just stop drinking wine at that point. Moscato was bad, number one, but then when you put ice in it, it's just disrespectful to.
Nah, it's kind of the wine that like everybody drinks. That people start off with. It's a semi-sweet.
Oh wait.
You got it on the tongue. You got it.
Is it the Jewish wine?
It starts with S. You see billboards about it all the time.
I do. It's okay. Hold on. Wait. It starts with an S.
Starts with the S. The second letter is a T.
Wait, is this a brand or is this a type of wine?
It's a brand. But it's semi-sweet. It tastes like juice.
It starts with the ST? Oh. I've never drank that wine before.
You've never had Stella?
No.
That's because it's candy wine. You don't drink candy wine.
No. I didn't even start off like that. Well, I knew I wanted to. Okay, so there's something wrong with me because I have an idealized identity and life, and sometimes I try it out. Sometimes it don't work, and I'm just like, all right, I give it up. It's not for me. It's not for me. And wine. Ever since I was a little girl, I just was like, the women who drink wine looks really sophisticated, and I want to be that. And
Yeah, there's definitely a look.
there is it's an aesthetic. Again, aesthetics are important, and I was like, you know what? But I feel like I would drink like red wine. Like I look like that kind of girl. Like not a white wine girl, like a red wine girl. And I took it very seriously. So seriously that on my 21st birthday, I went on a vineyard tour, and I did not get super drunk. I went to actually taste wine. So I've only been drinking quality wine. I mean, I've had like reluctantly had a barefoot. Reluctantly. But I tend to try to drink wine of quality, and sometimes it's not that deep. Like I'm also not a snob. I understand like sometimes you have to buy twist off tops.
That sounds so bougie.
If you are a mother, you don't have time. Maybe I get it. You got to buy a twist off top. Sometimes you shouldn't. I'm just saying. So I've never had Stella, and I'm mad that you put ice in it.
I mean, that's not surprising, though. That's not surprising. The first time you tasted wine, you went to a vineyard.
And it wasn't all good. Like, I really forced myself to learn to love red wine. I love red wine now. But at first, I thought it was the most bitter.
It's so nasty. It's so nasty. Like, I've been to a couple. And every single time, I just can't.
You look so disgusting.
I can't do it. I also don't know how to. I also don't know how people drink alcohol.
That's fair. That's fair. Alcohol is not good. It does not taste good.
It doesn't.
But it's an acquired taste. So you have to sort of like train your taste buds. Like
that's what I heard.
My taste buds are whacked. Like I love red wine, kombucha, ginger shots, anything that's like that make people like eh. I'm just like, ooh, where I want more. Like you have to really like train your taste buds to experience it.
No, I'm good.
You can start.
I like my taste buds to taste like a child, like all sweet things.
You can start slow. I feel like you maybe like a medium bodied red wine might be nice.
I tried all of it.
Okay.
I still like Stella, but
we have to go to a vineyard now. We got to go to a wine tasting because I got to convert you.
I'm telling you, I've been to a couple of them.
And we going to more. Yes, we're converting you.
It's kind of like working out, right? I got to build that muscle.
Yes. Do a little tongue push. Tongue sit-ups.
Okay. So you went to a vineyard, and when was the shift that you felt as if like that the taste was palatable to you?
I don't know if I can pinpoint to an actual time. I do know that wine, like the taste of wine, is also altered by what you're doing. So if you're eating, that's going to enhance or like affect the flavor.
I've heard that, yeah.
If you are obviously the temperature. So like the environment and what you're doing like really controls like the actual experience of drinking the wine.
Yeah.
And I learned that I wasn't drinking wine properly. Because before I like really truly could, because I drink red wine and I literally spit it out. The first time I think I had like, and this is also why I had a Merlot or some gross, anyways, I had it and I like literally like spit it back into the cup, and I was just like, maybe I'm not a red wine girl after all. I'll just stick to the white. And I think I was drinking like Pinot Gris, which I did not make the best wine choices when I was younger, but obviously I was young, so I didn't know. But I had to like really like sort of like train myself. So I started slow with more like medium bodied stuff. And then I started to try to get comfortable drinking like medium bodied red wine. And then once I got there, I could drink like full bodied red wine, which is a lot more bitter. Color also kind of like affects it too. So if you can see the color, you can kind of like pinpoint the taste. The great thing about wine, and I think it's like similar to design, is that you're using your senses. Like you really just have to like, don't overthink it. Like, you know how to smell, you know how to like taste, you can see, like really just like use your senses. Like, for example, like if I'm looking at this cup, like, so say there's wine in the cup, a proper way to check the color is like, sometimes people hold it up to the ceiling. You're not supposed to do that. You're really just supposed to look at it, like hold it down low and then look. The white wine that I like to drink is not like a yeasty pea yellow. I like it to look very light and clear. And I also like my red wines to be medium bodied. So my favorite red wine is Beaujolais, which is a French red wine made from the Gamay grape. And so that particular wine has a really nice red color. Like, it's not super thick, it's not full body, so you can kind of see through that red, and it looks really pretty and almost like a little purplish. But like, you're looking at the color, and you can kind of get like a sense of what it's going to taste like. And then so after you look and you study the color, smell it. Just smell it. Don't overthink it. A lot of people overthink it. Just smell it and kind of like really take your time. Like, okay, do I smell vanilla? Do I smell apple? Like, what are these notes? And kind of like take a sense of those notes and figure out, because sometimes it tastes a little different than the notes you smell. And so this starts to get really snobby. So then you like swirl it. And then you sip it. But when you sip, don't swallow. Keep it at the front of your mouth. And sometimes people like keep it at the front of your mouth, like really like try to taste it. And then you can spit it out or you can swallow it, depending on what you want to do. But like really use your senses and really pay attention to the experience and like the actual like body of wine. That's how you really start to appreciate wine. And that's how people end up really enjoying alcohol, because they do the same with liquor. You know, like people who are brandy connoisseurs, bourbon connoisseurs, like they really like try to pay. I do not know how you understand the notes in bourbon. Like, I get it. Like, I maybe like a smoky flavor I can kind of get, but I really don't know how people can really taste what bourbon, like the different flavors, and because it all tastes like alcohol to me. But I'm pretty sure people
it definitely all tastes the same.
Say the same thing about wine. I don't know. That's not my alley. I don't know liquor like that. But like really, like you start to sort of appreciate the body of work or like the actual like wine, because you can experience it. And a lot of wine has stories. Like, you can tell the taste of a wine based on the weather. Like, if the weather was bad that year, you can taste it. And it like really becomes like this experience that sort of like tells a story, and you're just like, wow. If you go to like a vineyard and you can like hear the story, and they'll talk about the soil and all this other stuff. But I particularly like French wine, and not necessarily like so there's old world and new world. Old world is all of those European countries that have been making wine for like thousands of years. And there's like new world, like America, where wine here is fairly new. Virginia wine is a thing. Not saying it's bad. It's cool. California wine is even more a thing. And the soil here in America is different than the soil in France or Italy. And America hasn't been making wine that long because America isn't that old. And then also prohibition was a thing, so that stopped wine making. So it kind of like reset the clock on how we can look at the soil, produce the soil, and figure out like what actually works and what we can grow here. There's a winery here called Barbersville, and there's a grape. I cannot think about what this grape is or where it comes from, but I feel like it's either Italy or France. It does not grow here in America, but for some reason, I don't know how they got the grape to actually grow in the soil at Barbersville, and it affects one of their most popular wines, which I feel like is the Octagon. Do not quote me on that. I do not remember, but it affects like one of their like really popular wines, because they were able to get this European grape to grow in the soil here. I always thought that was very interesting, but also like I'm not a fan of like taking ingredients or crops from other places and going else, because that's how you like actually mess up the soil. Key Africa and white people.
you seem really knowledgeable about your stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, more than me.
Bit.
So
yeah, that's not that's true. I was at some point and I think I still might do this. I want to become a sommelier, only because I want to know the wine, not because I actually want to work in the restaurant industry. I like really want to be like, I want to be that person that can taste the wine and be like, 1942, this region, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Like I want to know how that goes. So like I started taking classes, but I haven't been able to proceed because I have to focus on other things right now. But
For sure.
I really want to get to the sommelier level and like take the class and like really be able to know my stuff about wine.
Yeah. In due time.
In due time, yes.
So what are your 3-year to 8-year goals?
Well, that's so interesting that you say that because God laughed at all of my goals a month ago, and that's fun. So I had a 5-year plan. I'm on year like going on to year 4 or 5, and my plan was to really cultivate and learn as a designer at my current job, and then kind of like make a move elsewhere. And I felt like in that time I would figure out where. And I was not, I learned a lot. I also grew a lot, professionally and personally. But also I went through a lot of personal things in that time where I felt like it hindered me in terms of actually learning. Like I felt like I could have been more advanced if I had not gone through X, Y, and Z because my mind was focused on other things. I don't want to sort of beat myself up about that because I can control whatever I can control. But there had been, for the past few months, I've been feeling really unfulfilled and really just like, dang, I just like, this is what I do. Like, I got friends like, shout out to Jessica Holt, an amazing designer in New York. Did some work at the BMFAs with Lil Nas X. I got friends, shout out to Dina and Jacinth, beautiful people, in LA doing creative, amazing things. And I'm like seeing all of my friends do these incredible things and I'm so happy for them. And because I know like, it ain't always easy, and I know like things that they go through, and to see them flourish is fantastic. And I'm like so happy that God has blessed them and what they do and all this other stuff. But I'm just like, I'm just making websites and going to the gym. Like, that's not what I had like envisioned for my life. And I had been complaining. And a few weeks ago, I got a job offer. Not looking for it, just like kind of fell into my lap, which is a blessing. And it shook me because it's not a part of my plan. And I don't know how to move when things start to happen like that. And then after that, I'm like rapidly like seeking the voice of God. Like, was this you? Or was this just like some random, like, I don't know, like, what am I supposed to do at this moment? And so I no longer have a long-term plan. Long story short, I did take the job, and so I'm going to go and continue to learn and expedite my career as a designer and as a professional. And I think this new work environment is really going to do that. But after this job, I don't know. But I'm hoping this job can answer some outstanding questions that I have. Like, I have questions in terms of what type of design I want to do next, if I want to stay in UX or if it's more brand things that I should be focused on, where I want to go, like what city, what type of company. I worked at smaller companies, so now I'm about to work at a bigger company, and like I can get a better sense of do I fit inside a small shop or do I work at like a Fortune 500 company? Like where do I maneuver? So I feel like this particular position is going to help answer all of those outstanding questions that I have for myself. And so that I'm taking it one day at a time. I have no more plans, no more like 8-year plans. I'm not saying it's bad. Like, please plan your life. But
for sure, yeah.
for me, I'm just kind of like taking it as I go and just like, like being a vessel, listening to the Lord and figuring out what I need to do, but really focusing on what I need to fix as of late. But I know that in 8 years, hold on. In 8 years, I hope I'm able to say that I want to make a cake in the morning and just do that. Like, I want more. And, I've been joking about just wanting to be a housewife, which I don't think is actually a joke. What I'm trying to communicate is that I want the freedom. And this sounds so bad. I know that housewives, like, don't have the freedom to do whatever they want. They have to work. Like, that is an actual job.
Because you have kids.
Yes. I don't want to be that type of housewife. I just maybe just want to be unemployed. Just not working while somebody else is taking care of the financials. Well, that's not true. I think I would actively like to like work and design when I want to. Like, I don't want to not design. I want to design, which is also why I don't really want to run my own company, because I want to actually do
You just don't want to do it for money.
No, I do. Just not like every day.
As far as like you have to do it.
Yes, I don't want to have to do it. Right. Yes. Like, I want to be in a position where I do not have to work. I want to design because I want to design, or I want to design because I want to help somebody out. But I do not want to have to do it. I want to really wake up and just like kind of, I feel like going back to sleep, and I can do that without checking in and being like, hey, by the way, I'm not going to be available from X, Y, and Z. Like, yeah. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. I get it.
Thank you. Because that was going real left real quick. And I was just like, I do not want to offend people who are housewives. That is a very important job.
Yeah.
I respect that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm glad you were able to understand what I was saying.
I'm sure the people who are looking at it or who are listening to it get it too.
I hope so. Don't hate me.
Okay. So we are going to wrap up.
Okay.
This was a great talk.
This was fantastic.
This is a great talk. Typically, I allow the guests to wrap it up by saying something inspirational to those who are listening or watching. So whatever comes to your heart, whatever you want to leave them with, would be perfect.
When I was little, I'm short, and I've always been short. Even so, when I was small, but I don't think that makes sense because, like, I think everybody's like the same height. I don't know. So when I was little, I couldn't reach the. Also, whoever ran the house and had the toothpaste in the cabinet, that's disrespectful. Not everybody can reach that. So I used to climb on the toilet to get the toothpaste because I couldn't get it, but it was scary. So I used to be like, I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me, and I would say that until I got the toothpaste. And I still live by that. I can do all things through Jesus Christ. So you can do all things. Even if you don't feel like you are creative, you can do all things. Let your mind and your heart be open and receptive to do all things. And that's all.
That was fire. But yeah, I definitely want to say thank you
for having me,
for being patient.
Oh, of course. I am a really relaxed person, unless I have somewhere to be.
Yes. But, Nah, for sure. Like, thank you for being patient with all of the technical difficulties that we had.
They didn't need to know that.
I'm trying to keep it real on here, yeah. I'm trying to give them all. Like, I'm not trying to be perfect or anything with this. I'm just trying to be like, yo, like, this is what it is.
Yeah. Long story short, Antonio is going to get a plate full of all flat wings and the most difficult and expensive food order for his turmoil and stress.
So he definitely took away the drinks. Like, he was like the most expensive food.
No, it's fine.
Yes.
At least you can get a lemonade.
for sure. I mean, I don't drink anyway, so like I definitely take
fine.
that. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, thank you for being patient. Thank you for like taking some time to come out and preparing for this talk. Because you didn't have to be here. You didn't have to say yes to being a part of this. And I just want to say I appreciate you coming out. Yeah, thank you so much, Crystal.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed this conversation. I thought it was fruitful, and hopefully it helped somebody. I think that this platform is amazing. This podcast is amazing, and I think you are amazing, and I'm so excited to see all the things that you're gonna do. I'm excited to see all of the things that you are doing. Yeah. You introduce your guests, but Antonio is a creative, a director, a filmmaker, a podcaster, a designer, a developer. He can design and develop all in the same time, which not a lot of people can do. Conversationalist. He doesn't drink. And he eats all flat wings.
I don't eat that.
No one is going to understand that joke.
It's not me. I like drums better.
Oh.
I like the drums.
Well, that made me really sad because I was hoping. I love flat wings. That's the best part. I had hopes.
Nah.
No, it's okay.
Drums are way better.
I don't understand that logic, but continue.
Drums are way better.
Go off.
It's a lot more meat there. And you can hold it better. Like, just.
You can hold it better.
Yes, you could just.
Nah. There is a joy that you get from eating a flat wing, and I don't know if it's the skin. I don't know what it is, but the flats are just a way better eating experience. I feel like you eat the drum and it's over.
I mean, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get straight to it. You're eating.
That's why you don't enjoy alcohol, because you're supposed to taste it.
That's why I like Stella, because it tastes just like
Take
soda.
your time. That's disgusting. That is terrible. No. Do not put wine or ice in your wine, please. That is not the proper way to drink it. And if you think it tastes better, it doesn't. It waters it down. You are literally ruining the rotten grape.
See, I love my food super hot, and I love my drinks extremely cold. Extremely cold.
How is your teeth sensitivity?
Pretty fine.
Oh, okay.
I suppose.
That wasn't a joke. You really like your drink super cold?
Yeah, super cold. You know they say we're supposed to drink like lukewarm or
water, yeah,
room temperature water. My water is always like iced out.
I like cold water. I don't know about iced out. My teeth, I don't think they can. I don't know what's happening with my enamel.
It's just probably gone. See, I think I still got mine. I think I don't really know.
Clearly you might. You should.
All right. So I've also been trying to figure out like how should I just like bow out? Like what's the best way to bow out?
Like of the podcast?
Yeah. At the end of like an episode. Because you see, I'm still working on the intro. But
yeah.
How do I like just end it?
Sometimes I see podcasts that end like they just kind of like they're laughing, or like they get to a point and it just kind of like fades out. Like it's not like, all right, bye. I think that's like because it's natural, you know, and you kind of like end on like a good note that's like really fun and really intuitive, and it just kind of like maybe you have like a little sound that happens at the end of every podcast. I don't know, like a little beat, like a little.
Yeah, there's music that like.
Yeah, and just like fades it out.
Yeah.
We have some like good notes in there that you can like kind of like, all right, we're done.
All right, bye.